Types of queries. There are three main types of query builder reports that can be run: list queries, count queries, and merge queries. List query. A list query is when a list of information is sought from defined data, example, a list of all female patients over the age of 65 as shown in the example on my screen. You can run this query and the data will be represented as a list of patients' names based on the criteria identified in the designer view. Count query. The count query will take the criteria defined and numerically count the number of values. It is possible to add field values to the count to appear as a spreadsheet. Ensure the count function in the table drop-down is selected and is the last value in the select section of the query builder. In the following example, we will be displaying a number of diabetic patients by type of diabetes. We will examine how to build this query step by step. First, we will be giving our query a name. Then we will start by adding fields to the Where section. Since I'm dealing with clinical data this time, I will have to change the table from patient to classifications. Patient is one no longer required since we're dealing with clinical data. In the table classifications, I will be selecting a date of classification, and when querying clinical data, date of the event must be populated. Some examples of clinical data that requires date when querying are classifications, measurements or screenings, immunizations, recalls, prescriptions, and medical warnings. Same applies to the data that has no preceding the table name. Example, no measurements. Next, I will be adding the read code, and now we'll be setting the conditions. First, I'm going to set date of classification. When you set a date of classification, you have a list of conditions available from, between, to, from, to, is blank, isn't blank. Depending on how far you would like to query your data or a particular range of dates, you may want to select different conditions. For the purposes of our exercise, I will be querying my data between last 12 months. Next, I'm going to set read code. I'm going to leave condition as within and set value as diabetes. And I'm going to use C10 read code. Next, I'm going to populate the select section of my query. I'm going to add read code description, and next I'm going to change table, find count function table, and add count occurrence field to the select section. And now I'm going to try to execute my query by pressing the Run Query button. This is the result of my query. Let's go back to the designer view of this query. I will save my query for the future use. Query Store, save this query. There are some common error messages that you may encounter when building a count type of query. The count function count occurrence field must be the last field within your Select section. If I change the position of the count function count occurrence and now run my query, I will receive the following error message. The following error message indicates that count function count occurrence field must be the last field within your Select section. And now you can see that the query is working again. Another common error message that you may receive is when you're using the output in order specified above function. I'm going to place tick, and next I'm going to run my query. And you can see that the data is represented alphabetically. If I go back to Designer View tab and remove Classifications Read Code Description field and keep the output data in order specified above enabled and run this query, I will receive the following error message. Output data in order specified above tick box cannot be used when you have count function count occurrence as the only entry in the Select section. To remedy this error message, I will go back to the Designer view, change the table to Classifications, add Read Code to the Select section, ensure count function is the last on the list, and again run the query. This time I chose Read Code to be my display, and you can see that the data is represented by Read Code. I can revert the classification Read Code display back to Read Code description, run my query. Please note that now we have a new tab available, Spreadsheet View. When the count function is chosen from the table drop-down and there are less than 2 field values in the Select section, the Query Builder enables 2 other views, Spreadsheet and Chart View. The Spreadsheet view will allow you to view data as if you were using a spreadsheet. Chart View tab will be representing the data as a graph, and you can see that for this particular query we have 2 graphs available, the bar graph and the pie graph. I can change my data to be viewed as pie graph. And back to the bar. Going back to Designer View and going to save this query.